Hi all, hope the summer's going well. One thing we're going to be doing now is going over how to use this online uh, service called Overleaf. And what Overleaf lets you do is write a document in LaTeX, which is a way of laying out a document using different commands, almost like an HTML or another markup language, and then um, you can export it to PDF. Now, why would you want to do this? Well, the first reason is because it's a really easy way to type math. And since we're going to be writing a lot of math this year, particularly in things like lab reports, um, it's going to be something you're going to have to learn to use. And second, it makes your documents look pretty and professional. And who doesn't want that? The first thing you're going to do is register using Google, either a personal account or the school account. Doesn't make much difference to me. I'm going to do the same using the login. And now I have a bunch of documents that are here. You can always make a new project, um, either from a template or a blank project. I'll be providing you with a template throughout the year. But the first thing we're going to look at is actually the summer work document, which was written in LaTeX. And what we'll see here is that we get a nice side-by-side view of the source code and the document itself. Okay. And I'm going to run through a few different things here that you'll be able to see so that you can first play around by editing this document or a copy of this document. And then what you can do is start writing your own stuff up in LaTeX. Okay. So the first thing is there's a bunch of stuff at the start that just says what features you have available to you. You can remove them to remove some features, etc. When you get down to this title area, this is how I define my top page. Again, if you don't want it, we can just remove this whole section here. Yeah, we can probably remove this section, and then we're good to remove the title page. So if I delete that and I recompile, that's the issue. I can actually have that, but what I can do is I can remove the make title. And if I recompile there, I remove the title page. So I have all the information for the title page up top, but if I actually say to make the title page, it'll put it there. Then I can have a new page in between, and then I have a table of contents, and LaTeX has this stuff defined. Now, if you want to know how to do something in LaTeX, usually the best way to figure it out is to Google it. I know I do that all the time, even though I've used this a reasonable amount at this point. Let's see, if I put this make title back in, the title page comes back. The first thing is that I've divided this into sections. And the sections are something that, here a section is background information, for example. That would be read when I'm trying to make the table of contents. And if I click on that, it'll take me to the first section. So that's pretty nice. So then I just write some text. If I want to add a new line, I'll add this double backslash thing at the end. If I don't have that, things will be sort of jammed together. Actually, I have this, and that will, if I remove those, actually, and then I save or recompile, it'll just run it together as if it's one paragraph. It won't even recognize that there are two different paragraphs. So if I add just the double backslash, it will add a new paragraph, but it won't sort of do this separation and add a tab at the end. And I sort of want that, so I'm going to press return, and I will get that feature. Okay, so how you lay out certain pieces will determine how it appears on the page. It's not exactly what you see is what you get, like maybe Word is, but it's not too different from the typing perspective. Now, let's say I wanted to include an image. How do I include an image? Well, I can't just drag and drop it. The first thing I have to do for an image is I'll probably have to upload it to an images folder. And then I have a bunch of images in here in subfolders, but you'll just reference where it is. It's in the images folder with that extension. And you can change the caption. You can change the label, which you should probably do. And that is how you define adding a new element. These letters up here tell you sort of how it's going to be laid out on the page, although it's really actually pretty hard to lay an image out exactly where you want it, which is usually okay because it'll line up mostly with what you're aiming for. And it'll be good enough for the most part. Okay, so this type of thing, if you want to figure out how to do an image, basically copy and paste this and change the relevant elements. Okay, so now I have a new section, and underneath that section will be the case until I make another one. I put another image, you know, and all I've done is I've changed this. Maybe I've changed the size a little bit. I've changed the caption. I've changed the label. Okay. And then moving down, again, more images. Clearly, it, you know, there's an addiction here. So then I finally move into this section 3 where we start to see a little bit of, like, how do I make a table? And so this subsection units, first I have this XKCD comic, which is not exactly where I want it, but it's good enough. And then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to see that there is a there's this table here. Okay, so what does this table do? Yeah, I feel like I messed something up. Okay, so what does this table do? Well, this table, we're going to have this structure to it. And again, my recommendation, copy the structure. The thing that determines how the table is laid out is up here. I get a sense of sort of this column structure. If I add vertical lines, it'll add vertical lines on the end. Every vertical line will tell you sort of where you want a vertical bar throughout the table. Let's say I delete that and I recompile. I might get an error. Yeah, I mean, effectively I get these things sort of running together instead of having a vertical bar next to them. And so that's a way to maintain those vertical bars. Anywhere I want a horizontal line, I just do this /h line. Certainly I could do it under here. And I would get another line under the distance here, because that's where this horizontal line is. And so you would have just, it's a pretty formulaic structure for making a table. How do I determine which column things are in? Well, the first thing I do is I have the element, then I have an ampersand, then I have the element, then I have an ampersand, and then I have an element. So this would be in the first column, second column, third column. And then I have this double backslash to make a new line. And then every single other row will have the same structure. First column, second column, third column. First column, second column, third column. And continuing down. And And again, if you want horizontal or vertical lines, you would just add them at the appropriate place. If I wanted something so that there's even a horizontal line at the top, I just put it at the top. It's very much, it's a little more obvious than something like, than maybe some other languages. It's not exactly Word, but it should be totally doable. You can add a caption, and add a label, and in general, these things can also be linked to. I added some footnote text, and then I made a footnote somewhere. Footnotes here, for example. I put the footnote mark here, and then the text associates with that mark. So you can always add footnotes. You probably won't have to do that. Okay. Then I think the last thing I do want to talk about is subsectioning, and also the main thing, which is writing math. Okay, so the first thing here is I can always center things with begin center and end center. Anything between dollar signs is treated as a math formula. Now, common operations like exponentiation would be with this upper caret, which is shift 6. Underscore is subscript. So, for example, let's look at this, this formula I have here. This is the formula right here that I've written in here. N colon equals kilograms times, and this, if you want the x to be sort of that time symbol, just do times. And then you do, if you want a fraction, there's this terminology, and this is the numerator part, this is the denominator part. And again, to start out, you should probably be copying the things I have here and then editing them on your own. You know, it's or looking online for something like that. Again, anytime you want to use math terminology, you should use those dollar signs to start and end to get into the math environment, as it is called. So let's say I want to add something onto here, under here, and I want to say, you know, let's say I'll have something else that's force. Let's just do F underscore G squared. Okay, so this is FG squared. So what does that look like? Well, FG squared, now, we'll just have that G as the subscript and then the 2 as the superscript. Underscore means subscript. That means superscript. There are all sorts of other things, and I'm happy to share with you all the math terminology, but basically that's how to use the math environment. Between the dollar signs, you'll put your stuff, and it should look prettier. Particularly, I'll show you some examples soon. Yeah, for things like this, it's a little prettier. Although maybe some spacing would be nice for some of this. But this is way faster to write using the math environment than it would be using, say, Word, which is really why we have this, this whole situation, and why we'd be using this. Now, before we had sections, now we have subsections. That just numbers something slightly differently, so we'll go to scientific notation, which is up here. So it'll number it with a 0.2 for my questions under 3.4, which is problems. Okay, so you can always double click the PDF and it'll show you where in the code this is. You'll see that I have a subsection called problems, so that's 3.4, and I have a subsection called the unit conversions, which is 3.4.1. And so you can basically just go through subsections. But the nice thing about Overleaf is it will autocomplete, so so it'll show you the options, and then you can just say type something here, and then it would show up. So I will be sharing this with you. Please play around with it. See if you can change things, see if you can delete things and get rid of stuff. I'm going to share it with you as a template so that you can't edit it directly and you'd have to just copy it or something like that. Now what's going to happen is you can play around with this, and I'll also share a lab report template at some point that you'll be using. And so it's because you have the templates, it shouldn't be too arduous to use this. In the end, it'll really help you, especially if you go into science later on. Okay, have a great day.